All right, you are looking live. It's sold out at Life Stadium today. The 16-0 and playoff bound New York Giants are taking on the 0-16 Chicago Bears. And why are the Chicago Bears 0-16? Because they suck. They're partying like it's 1985, baby. Ain't won a Super Bowl in what? Almost 40 years. Chicago Bears. You suck. Oh, man, that stuff gets me every time. Anybody out there at all that's going to spend a little bit of time with me here this evening, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. For anybody going to spend time watching the replays, once again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. Going to try to go 30 minutes here tonight. Shoot my mouth off for about 30 minutes. Anybody got anything to say, please feel free. Fire away, throw in the chat box. You usually try to check on the chat box like every 5 or 10 minutes or so. So as soon as I see something in there, I try to respond to it as fast as I can. So please feel free and fire away with the comments. But plus also, I mean, instead of me just rambling on for half an hour, 45 minutes, or whatever it might wind up being, it's just nice to talk to another Giant fan. So please feel free once again, fire away. Before I get started, if anybody wants to help support my channel out, it would mean the absolute world to me. Description box below, very top link in the description box, takes you to my membership page. I got 3 different membership levels. The first one's called the Saquon, second one's called the Lawrence Taylor, and a third membership level I got, it's called the Gridiron. Each one's got their own little perks to them, so if you want to help support my channel out, it would mean so much to me, and I would thank you in advance. Thank you. If you are subscribed to my channel, once again, thank you. I can use all the support I can get, guys, but if not, please go down below, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon. That way next time I go live, or if I put a video out, you'll be notified. That's free of charge. What do you got to lose, right? But if you're subscribed to my channel, thank you. Maybe give this video a thumbs up or share it. That'd be freaking awesome. And then finally, also just a little ways down in the description box, there's 2 additional links. The top one's a Facebook link, which I'll go over in just a second. The one underneath it, I'm an old-time fart, and one of those guys is, get off my lawn, right? When I'm old-time farts, I can't stand change. Just like things just the way they are. Why we got to change stuff up, huh? Let's keep stuff the same, huh? It's a Twitter link, right? It'll always be Twitter to me. It's always been Twitter. Whatever letter of the alphabet Elon Musk wants me to call it, that's on you, bro. I ain't calling it that. I'm calling it Twitter because it's Twitter, right? Follow me on Twitter. I'll follow you back. That's an absolute promise. I try to put Giants-related stuff in my Twitter account every day. And then finally, the link on top of it takes you to my Facebook group. It's called the New York Giants. Very original, I know, basically, because I'm a moron. And when it came time to naming my Facebook group, I couldn't think of anything else to call it. So I called it the same thing as my YouTube channel is. So it's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. We have over 8,300 members in the group. It's doing simply marvelous, might I add. Basically, if I'm alive and breathing, and if I have internet access, I'm putting stuff in this group darn near 365. And not only do I put stuff in this group, but the members post stuff in this group as well, too. So between me and the members, there's a ton of New York Giants information going in this group every day. It's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. Please join it. You won't be dissatisfied. I promise. All right. Well, it's always nice, when you hear, like, after the draft's over, that and everything, and, obviously, yeah. I mean, there's 300,000 people out there, or publications, or whatever you want to call it, grade, the grade the drafts and grade this and all that and everything. But, it's nice when you, obviously, when you draft some guys in the later rounds, usually, everybody has some deficiencies, obviously, but, you certainly in those later round picks, you certainly look for the positives, the pluses, and, I am, really pretty thrilled, with Tracy and Muasau. Now, for different reasons. Now, with Muasau, we're going to go over it. I got a little article here I'm going to read. It's just a tackling machine, dependable, doesn't miss games. It's like a little kind of theme here, right? We draft healthy players, right? Guys who haven't really had much of an injury history or anything like that, but just a tackling machine. Now, if and where and all that, can Bowen use him on the defensive side of the ball? Well, we'll have to wait and see. He's not very tall. He's not very big, but he does have a nose for the ball. Okay. I'm sure he'll get used on special teams, right? Because they want to be huge. But, for 6th round pick, boy, I'll tell you what, I mean, where we drafted Micah McFadden at and with Muasau here, not bad. Of course, I said, let's not forget about that. We got Darian Beavers as well, too. I'm very anxious to see him. I really hope he's coming. Hope he's healed up. Hope he's able to fly around like he was 2 years ago before injury. Before injury. I'm not saying he was Ray Lewis or Harry Carson, but where he got drafted, you like to see him because he's got the size to him. Very, very anxious. I hope he's healed up and I hope he's doing good. Really, really anxious to see what he can wind up doing. And we've drafted some interior linebackers. We're getting some bang for our buck for some of these guys. And I said, I mean, if Bobby Okereke there, and you also look at on the depth chart anyway, they got Isaiah Simmons in there as well too. So I mean, we got some talent there. That's we certainly have some talent there without question. But what are they saying about Darius Muasau? Now, what is this? Giants Wire. Oh, wait. Who wrote this here? Dane Benton, I guess. All right. Giants close out the 2024 NFL Draft by adding a quality, versatile linebacker with significant upside, Darius Muasau. Now, the thing is, like with him, is that, some guys, they come in and they just need to add a little bit of size and all of that. And, that might help them out or whatever. With him, I mean, he's like, I think he's 6 foot tall. Yeah, ain't nothing you can do about that. He's not a midget either. Okay. And the thing is with him, I think he was like 6 foot 220, somewhere around there. Now, if he starts bulking up and all that, I mean, if he's like, say, 6 foot tall, 240, he starts on putting on too much muscle and size, is that going to be a detriment to him? So we'll have to wait and see. Although he's a bit undersized, Muasau is a ferocious player who will play a significant and important role on special teams as he develops. Abso-frickin-lutely. Here is what several NFL draft experts had to say about Muasau prior to him being selected on Saturday. Lance Zierlein, a linebacker with muscular build and an unrelenting desire to chase after the football. Muasau plays with a phenomenal motor and has the instincts and recognition to get the jump on blocking schemes. He plays with good initial quickness, but lacks extended pursuit speed in space. He will take shots downhill to spoil the action, but teams will have to live with missed tackles and inconsistent leverage in his pursuit. Now, once again, some of these things you can certainly work on, right? It's just not, he does this wrong. Okay, well, he's pretty much screwed. No, there's lots of things you can do to work on that, right? Muasau can handle some basic short zone coverage, but could get in trouble if the coverage expands into larger spaces. He has the potential to make the back end of a roster as a late round pick or a priority free agent addition. So they pretty much hit that right on there as a late round pick. So you're not getting much later than the 6th round, especially for the Giants anyway this year because they didn't have a 7th round pick. Dane Brugler of The Athletic. the 2-year starter at UCLA. But let's not forget, he just wasn't from UCLA. Okay, he was a couple different places, and he has like 440 tackles in his career. A lot of tackles. He played Mike linebacker in former defensive coordinator Dante Lynn's 4-2-5 base scheme. Now you've seen a lot of that. Obviously 4-2-5, whatever. You got your 2 interior defensive line. You got your 2 edge rushers. So you got your 4, and then you got 2 liners. You can't have 3 4s anymore, right? Can't have a 4-3, because if you only got 4 guys in the secondary nowadays, you're pretty much kind of in some trouble, right? So that's why you got to have a lot of those 5s, whether it's 3 cornerbacks and 2 safeties, or 3 safeties and 2 cornerbacks, whatever you got, right? But that's why you got a lot of that 5, right? At the 3 productive seasons in Hawaii. Now, I said, I think his last 2 seasons in Hawaii, he led them in tackles. And he comes to UCLA. In the 2 seasons at UCLA, he led them in tackles. I don't think he missed a game. And he had 440 tackles in 5 seasons. Pretty impressive. He led the Bruins in tackles in both of his seasons in Westwood and has an impressive collegiate resume. He played in every game the last 5 years and compiled 440 tackles and 40 tackles for loss. A quick reacting defender. Muasau has the vision that gives him a head start on the play, which expands his lateral range and helps him make stops near the line of scrimmage. Now, the beauty of it, right, is that it's kind of like iron sharpens iron and all, right? Whatever, however you want to look at it, because when he's sitting down in there, right, and whatever night the linebackers, I don't know, Caracat, whatever, if he watching film every night, whatever. But he gets in there and he starts listening to those guys, right? Even Micah McFadden, who's only been there a couple of years, can start teaching him stuff. Bobby Okereke teach him stuff, right? He's only going to get better. He's only going to get more intelligent, right? And he can start asking them questions. Muasau is a freaking tackling machine in college, right? Karake is a freaking tackling machine at the pro level, right? So, who the frick better would you rather have, maybe showing some film work to Muasau than a Karake? Or maybe Karake, you don't need to take this angle, or this happens, helping him out maybe on some of those missed tackles and all. So once again, I'm not saying the guy is going to be a Hall of Fame or not like that, but very anxious to see. It's nice to see somebody with high motor, a tackling machine. It's very anxious to see what he's going to do out there, because Muasau is going to get some reps in the preseason games without question. So anxious to see. Interested to see him out there. And I'm going to go over Tracy too. I'm very anxious to see him, especially because the guy was a wide receiver, right? So you can send him out on pass patterns. Heck, you can empty the backfield, send him out, right? Go 4 wide or whatever, and send Tracy out, right? Oh yeah. Tracy would be a mismatch as well too. You might even wind up having it where it's, the defense is like, oh crap, who's got 6'6" Theo Johnson, who's got Rocket Ishmael Hyatt, Jalen Hyatt out there, who's got maybe Slayton out there, who's covering Wan'Dale Robinson, right? What about? Don't forget about Neighbors. If our quarterback can stand in the pocket for more than like half a second without getting his head ripped off, we can start presenting some mismatch troubles out there, right? Theo Johnson, he's got some speed to him, but also the size, 6'6", very impressive, very impressive. Let's see. He is aware in short zone coverage, although he lacks the movement skills to stay connected to backs or tight ends in man coverage. So, in small areas, I guess seems like what they're saying, he can do a decent job, but I guess maybe trying to carry a guy down the field or something might be out of his wheelhouse, shall we say? Right. Let's see. Overall, Muasau might be elite in any one area. May not be elite in any one area, but he is a well-rounded linebacker with the play recognition and tackling skills that will translate to any level. Someone who weighs Taki. I love that name. He projects as an NFL backup who can hold his own when he sees the field. So then you got Jared Maslin from the 33rd team. He projects as a backup Mike linebacker who has some scheme versatility, but his best fit is in a 4-3 scheme. Well, you're not going to see much 4-3 in the pros. I don't know who's running 4 defensive linemen and 3 linebackers. You put 4 defensive linemen and 3 linebackers. I mean, unless the 4-3 maybe is where you got a safety and you walk him up into the box. Okay, maybe I can see that. Where you got a corner or whatever into the box. But anyway, he's undersized, but has a well-built frame with muscle throughout. His instincts and play recognition are inconsistent as he tends to react quickly. Sometimes when you react quickly and you react, hey, you look like a superstar. Sometimes, you react and you react wrong. You could take yourself out of a play. So, he's got some stuff he's got to learn, but some of that certainly can be some film work without question. And I certainly think, with the Caracay there, I think if he ties himself to Caracay's hip and just tries to ask him a whole bunch of questions, and when a Caracay talks, you shut up and you freaking listen, all that. I think that's certainly going to make him that much better. Once again, the guy's a 6th round pick, right? But I think the Giants really did good. The 6th round pick. And then got last here. Pro Football Focus here. Muasau plays a style of linebacker every defensive coach will love, but he needs to add more strength and must anticipate with more regularity to make up for the outlier measurables to be more than a special teamer. And then finally got the Bleacher Report. Darius Muasau is an instinctual linebacker whose play speed is better than his testing numbers suggest. That's how he makes plays as a run defender and in coverage, as he's in the right spot more often than not. He's also a physical player and was productive in pass rush for an off-ball linebacker with 16.5 career sacks in college. Not too bad. Once again, you have to wait and see, how he gets, I'm sure he's going to be seeing special teams quite a bit. If he does, when he gets onto the defensive side of the ball, hopefully it's not because somebody got injured, right? I mean, you want everybody staying healthy and all, but it'd be interesting to see, how many snaps he gets, where they put him at, So we'll have to wait and see. But, he has some guys in front of him for sure. But I'll tell you what, in the inside linebacker position, we got ourselves some athletes. I said, because not only so much, you get Muasau, but I said if Beavers can come back and be somewhat productive, hopefully, I said, from the injury he received 2 years ago, right? Because he didn't even make it to the regular season, unfortunately. But I think he was still slowed down. I think he might have still been like a step or so trying to recover from his injury last season. So if he's fully healed this season, we might have added just 2 inside linebackers this year if we get Beavers back. So because I love Beavers' size. He's big, tall. Really, really, really excited about him. But so you look, between McFadden, Beavers, and Muasau, we drafted 3 guys in the later rounds that, certainly have some potential, right? And it's so important to hit on those late round draft picks. So important because you can't, obviously, I'm not telling anybody anything, but you can't have everybody on the roster can't be making $10, $20, $30 million. You need those guys that are making $800,000 a year to contribute, and then hopefully if, we can, we draft them, develop them, and keep them. Right? Instead of, having them for 4 years, letting them go and then bringing somebody else in, And then this guy here, Mr. Tracy. Giants rookie Tyrone Tracy named one of the 2024 NFL's draft's best picks. Very anxious to see him. This is from Serena Burks from Giants Wire. It says, in the 5th round of the 2024 NFL Draft, the Giants selected Tyrone Tracy with the 166 overall pick. He first played 4 years as a wide receiver with the Iowa Hawkeyes before transitioning to running back when he transferred to Purdue. Athletic and versatile, Tracy could be the weapon the Giants need in 2024. ESPN's Field Yates seems to agree. He recently ranked his top 5 picks in each round of the draft, and Tracy made the cut for the 5th round. Yates said he considered not just where the players were drafted, but what they bring to the team, their overall value, and how they will fit with their new team, among other things. It says Tracy is a fun player to study as he was a wide receiver for 4 seasons at Iowa before transferring to Purdue and playing 2 years as a running back. That versatility could easily lead to early opportunities for the Giants. Absolutely, especially given the team's thin backfield behind new starter Devin Singletary. Tracy ran for 8 touchdowns last season. Prior to running for 8 touchdowns for Purdue, he recorded just 2 rushing touchdowns and 5 receiving touchdowns over 5 seasons. The transition from receiver to running back wasn't just a good decision for Purdue. It was a good decision for Tracy's career. After playing for 2 Division I schools, dealing with the transfer portal and changing positions, Tracy is more than ready to transition to the NFL. As I said, I mean, once again, versatility, right? You can actually line them up out wide. You can send them out on pass patterns, right? I'm very anxious to see. Once again, I can't say I've sat here and I watched 3.5 hours worth of his tape. The stuff you see on YouTube, like me, but I mean, the videos on YouTube, he certainly has some moves to him now. Doesn't seem like he has that breakaway speed, maybe a la Saquon back in the day in 2018, because if you give Saquon a gap, right, and if there's not enough guys to close the angles, Saquon's gone. Well, maybe Tracy doesn't quite seem to have that upper end speed. Obviously, if he did, he wouldn't be there in the 5th round. But he's certainly got some quickness. I can't remember what the stat was, but his missed tackle rate was very impressive, very, very impressive. And the nice thing about him, he played quite a few years in college, but he still has a lot of tread left on the tires. It's not like he's come out, he's been a running back for 4 years. He got the ball 250 carries for 4. No, it's nothing even close to that. He's got a lot of tread left on the tires. So very, very anxious to see him, and do you want somebody, like a Malik Neighbors, you can maybe take a pass and go the distance? Sure. But it's also kind of fun seeing maybe get somebody in a hole and seeing juke and maybe miss a couple tackles and at least pick up a first down or whatever. So I'm very anxious to see him. Very, very anxious to see him. Once again, a late round pick. He can be very versatile. And I don't know, he's like $800,000 or something like that. We got him for 4 years. He's got a lot of tread on the tires. So very anxious to see it. I think really Shane did a very, very good job. Overall, I said, because we only had the 6 picks in the draft, right? So I think we did very, very well. All in all. All right. What the heck? Next. Well, there's a GM here, and I think quite a few people are seeming to think this too, especially maybe other GMs and stuff like that. There's an ex-NFL GM who says, this is from Giants Wire once again, the love the Giants have for Daniel Jones is ruining the franchise. Ooh. The Giants went into the 2024 NFL draft with the hopes of coming away with a new franchise quarterback. Well, yeah. After a full court press to move up in the draft to select Drake May failed. That's what everybody seems to think. I'm not sure where they're getting all their information from. It's certainly not from Joe Shane. I can tell you that much. But Apparently, the Giants did a full court press to try to move up and to draft Drake May, but it failed. They tried to obviously trade with the Patriots. But according to sources, I don't know who they are, but the Giants then watched other options quickly dissipate and came away empty-handed and are still very much tethered to Daniel Jones for the upcoming season. There's a possibility they hand the reins to free agent signing Drew Lock, who a little article here I'm going to go over in just a few minutes. Set for Drew Lock for the interim until they find their new man, but still they are back to where they left off in 2023. Giants appeared to be satisfied with moving ahead with what they have in-house, and that says former NFL executive Mike Lombardi is ruining the franchise. Now, Lombardi, I mean, he's just, he's the, what the heck was it? He said he said something else. He said something about the Giants. I think it was like last year or something like that, about one of the players in there, about their contract or something like that. He said something. Yeah, it's one. I can't remember who it was. But he said there's a guy that was in the Giants locker room. I guess he wanted. I can't remember. Maybe it was Saquon he was referring to or something like that. He said it was ruining it was poisoning the locker room and stuff like that. So I don't know. I mean, Lombardi was very good in his day and all, but sometimes he just, people just talk and say stuff just to, I think, just to get clicks or get attention. Let's see. Lombardi said, I wasn't surprised at all by that. Lombardi said on the Sports Junkies in D.C. this week, because if you listen to what John Mara said at the owners' meetings, he said very clearly, I'll favor them to drafting a quarterback if they're in love. And he used the word love. Okay. General Manager Joe Schoen did not appear too satisfied with the status quo. He'll live with it for now, but said, this is where we are at. I think they were in love with Drake May, but I don't think they were in love with J.J. McCarthy. No, they passed on him, right? I mean, they passed on, Nix, Penix, McCarthy, right? And remember, John Mara, the president of the team, he's the reason why Daniel Jones is making all that money. He loves Daniel Jones. He drafted Daniel Jones as the 6th pick overall. I thought Dave Gettleman drafted him. So I didn't know. I didn't know John Mara was in there making draft picks. I didn't know. Once again, I'm not sure where this guy Lombardi's getting, where he's getting his information from. I mean, now the owner of the Giants is making draft picks. Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. Apparently Lombardi, John Mara drafted Daniel Jones as the 6th overall pick. Nothing would make them more happy than Daniel Jones being successful. They're almost willing it to happen. It won't be, but they're hoping it will. Lombardi says the Giants' love for players is bringing them down. They're forgetting that the logo on the side of the helmet is more important than the names on the back of the jerseys. They've gone 10 years. They're the only team in the NFC East that has not won the East in the last 10 years, he said. They have the worst record in the last 10 years in the NFC East. It's a shame because the Giants should be a stellar franchise in the league. But because they fall in love with their players, they love their players, they make bad decisions. Unfortunate, but true. Well, the one thing is that, Mara, it's tough. It's tough. But, he did go outside the organization and bring in Joe Schoen, right, who brought in, his own coach. Obviously, Mara had to sign off on it, but for the most part, he went outside the organization, right? I mean, there was no, they brought George Young in 1979. Well, after George Young, we had Ernie Accorsi here, and then we had Jerry Reese was here, and then we kind we knew Dave Gettleman from the past, so there was a lot of familiarity with a lot of the GMs. Of course, one of the first ones we had was 1974. We brought in Andy Robustelli, right? He was a former Giant. We traded for him back in the 50s. He was a great for the Giants, right? So, I mean, a lot of the GMs that the Giants had basically ever since 74 with Andy Robustelli all the way up until Dave Gettleman was all familiarity with the organization, right? But, they went out on his own, right? Got Joe Shane, who was from a winning organization. Now, they didn't win a Super Bowl, but, the Bills pretty good. They're pretty good, especially when it comes to getting a quarterback. Right. And the one guy who was on the sideline helping that quarterback, maybe be the best he could be, is now the head coach. So, so Mara did step back and he went outside the organization, brought in a GM from outside, right? Something that hasn't been done before, right? So you got to give him some time. You can't force a pick. I mean, it's see, it's just simply amazing because it's like, no matter what, if the Giants drafted every player in this draft, there'd be somebody out there complaining. Swear to God, there'd be somebody bitching and moaning and groaning. If they got all 250 players in this draft, there'd be some morons out there just complaining. Giants didn't draft the backup water boy. What's going on? I mean, just say the water boy's running out the field. He blows out his ACL. He's out there on the ground. I mean, we don't got a backup water boy. They didn't draft the backup boy. Are they stupid? I mean, it's absolutely freaking amazing. You got the morons, in these high and mighty places and all that. And I mean, this moron Lombardi, did he interview May? Did he have him sit down and draw up some plays, watch film, and what'd you do on this play? All right, so we're going to give you an instance. Now you tell us what you're going to do. Was Lombardi in there? Did he talk to May? Did he have was Lombardi at May's pro day? I mean, was Lombardi in the Giants facility? Maybe when they brought May in to throw some passes. I mean, was he there? Was Lombardi on the other end of the line when Shane was trying to maybe talk to the Patriots about maybe? I mean, you don't want to overpay, right? I mean, the Giants passed on maybe McCarthy and Penix and Nix, and right, because maybe they thought they weren't worth the 6th overall pick. Maybe the Patriots wanted too much. And to be fair to the Patriots, I wouldn't blame them. The Patriots need a quarterback, right? So the Patriots go one of two ways. It's like, okay, we're number 3. We're going to get one of these 3 quarterbacks, unless somebody comes in and just blows us out of the water with something so ungodly. We just can't. They give us an offer we can't refuse, right? If that happens, okay, we'll move back, right? We'll get all these extra draft picks, and we'll worry about maybe a quarterback, But other than that, we're staying put, right? So I mean, maybe Shane did call. Maybe they wanted too much. I mean, there's only so much you're going to offer, and before it's just not logical, not ethical to trade for, right? And as I say, you look at it in the long run, we got Malik Neighbors. I mean, this should be a happy occasion, right? I mean, remember how I was a little annoyed. I mean, because when we got Odell Beckham, I mean, because I think the first 4 games, I think he had a hamstring. I think he hurt himself in preseason. I'm like, come on, man, what the? Are you serious? We draft this guy, and he missed the first 4 games. I'm like, this guy blows. Come on. No, I didn't say blows, but I mean, I'm like, this guy, you got to be serious, man. But I'll tell you what, man, when he came on the scene, boy, holy cow, Batman, I couldn't even imagine what numbers he would have put up if he played a whole 16-game schedule. Well, this guy is just quite a bit like that guy. I don't know if he's got those Spider-Man hands where he'll make a I mean, he'll be falling back against the Cowboys and catch a ball with 3 hands or 3 fingers or something like that. I'm not sure if it has no kind of a kind of Spider-Man senses kind of going on there, but we got neighbors, right? We got ourselves a number 1 wide receiver. So, as I said, if we drafted somebody at number 6 as a quarterback, there would have been people out there saying we overdrafted the quarterback and we should have took a wide receiver. All right, you can't make everybody happy. Yeah, you can't make everybody happy. So, but this is Shane and Dable's show, and this is going to be they got 2 guys. They got Locke and they got Daniel Jones. I think by the end of the season, I think they'll have their answer on both those guys, whether they're going to keep them, either one of them or what I've got going forward. So, I mean, I ain't telling Shane, ain't nobody telling Shane nothing, about the quarterback situation, right? He knew last season was an absolute total debacle about the offensive line. So we brought in, we got rid of Bobby Johnson, right? We brought in Carmen Brasilla, right? And we brought in a whole bunch of offensive linemen trying to fix the problem. Hopefully we can. Hopefully we're fixing maybe the offensive line. We brought in some weapons. We got Theo Johnson. We got Tracy. We neighbors, right? We lost Saquon, but we got Singletary, right? So we got some weapons, right? Let's see what Daniel Jones or Drew Lock can do. Right? We'll have to wait and see. But that's going to lead me to one of my other stories here. Is that let's go to Drew Lock here. Let's go to that one. So one leads to the other here. One kind of leads right into the other. So what they're going here is right. Chatter continues to grow regarding Giants starting quarterback. Well, now maybe about 2 days ago, I think I saw I think it was somewhere in Facebook. I'm like joined with there's I don't know 25 or 30 Giant Facebook groups. So I get all these, notices and all that and everything. That Drew Lock's going to have a chance to compete, maybe for the starting offense, for the quarterback role. Interesting. Because apparently when he first got when they brought him in, he said Daniel Jones is the starting quarterback and he's the backup. But now the chatter's starting to talk. Giants offseason program is well underway, right? Who is this? This is SI.com. With training camp around the corner and after coming up short in their attempt to trade up for a new quarterback in last month's draft, the Giants quarterback situation remains one of the hot topics of the spring. Ooh. Daniel Jones, who was given a 4-year, $160 million extension last offseason, had everything go wrong in 2023. 2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions before his season was cut short due to an ACL tear in Week 9. He also missed the 3 previous games because of his neck injury that he suffered against the Dolphins. Wow, what a shot he took there. Holy cow. The other quarterbacks currently on the roster are Drew Lock and Tommy Chicken Cutlet Parmesan. Tommy DeVito had a short stint of fame when he led the Giants to 3-game winning streak from weeks 11 to 13. In 9 games, DeVito, an undrafted rookie, threw for 1,101 yards, 8 touchdowns, and just 3 interceptions. Overall, he wasn't terrible, as head coach Brian Daboll and offensive coordinator Mike Kafka got the most out of him. But he also has a lot more room to grow as an NFL-level signal caller. Now, one of the things with him was, he had 8 touchdown passes, right? And he only had 3 interceptions. But as I've heard other people say, is one of his problems is he only has 3 interceptions. Which good and bad. Sometimes it's like, you can drop back, not throwing an interception. Okay, this guy's wide open. You know what I mean? Yeah. It seems like he was like a little leery sometimes just to, trust his arm or his arm strength or his arm talent or whatever. Try to fit something in there in a tight window or whatever. Sometimes, you play that many games and you only have 3 interceptions. It's good. Don't get me wrong. But it's like maybe the old saying, the Giants maybe didn't lose the game because of him, because he threw a lot of interceptions, but maybe they also didn't win the game. Well, they won the 2-minute drive, at the end of the game against the Packers and all that. But, sometimes they also say maybe you're not winning a game because of the guy, because he's not, trying. What I mean? Sometimes, they said to fit a pass in a tight window, So sometimes it maybe seemed like he was overdoing it with trying to overprotect the ball. But once again, you got to give the guy some credit. He's a 3rd-round quarterback. He won 3 games for us, and I said, and it is what it is. You can't change nothing. But I really feel that if Graham Gano wasn't injured, right, against the Jets, and he kicks it. Now, I don't think Tommy DeVito started that game. I think Tyrod Taylor started the game. Tommy DeVito came in. The Jets had a good defense, so they really wouldn't let Tommy DeVito throw the football. I think he only completed 2 passes. But anyway, Tommy DeVito was the quarterback at the end of the game, and the Giants were winning with a 10-7. I really believe if Graham Gano was not injured, he makes that short field goal. Puts the Giants up 13-7. Now the Jets have, I forgot, forgive my stupidity. I forget they didn't have a lot of time. I think they went back-to-back 29-yard pass plays or 29-yard plays back to put them in field goal range to kick the tying field goal to send the game in overtime where the Giants lost. But if Graham Gano kicks that field goal, 35, 6, 7 yards, right? Graham Gano's making that if he's healthy. Then the Giants are up 13-7. Then the Jets have to score a touchdown, not just a field goal. So the odds of the Giants winning that game go up immensely if the Jets have to score a touchdown, right? They only had to kick a field goal, which they did. But if Graham Gano's not injured, or if we have a healthy field goal kicker in there, maybe he kicks the 30-something yard field goal and the Giants win that game too. So, all right. But with Drew Lock, Greg Rose here at Move the Sticks on Giants, I believe Drew Lock has a really good shot at winning that job. They were comparing Daniel Jones and Drew Lock. Emphasis on Drew Lock to the quarterbacks that were going to be there at 6. Well, that's true too. That's true too, right? Now we look. Drew Lock, his first season, okay. Now it was in 2019, 2nd-round pick. Now, he spent some time with the Broncos. They were not like a absolute phenomenal team the times he was there. Now, his rookie season, 2019, he was 4-1. Played 5 games, started 5 games. He was 4-1. 64.1% completion percentage, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Very, very good. Since then, in 2020, he was 4-9. 2021, he was 0-3 for the Broncos. Last season with Seattle, he played in 4 games. He started 2. He's 1-1, right? Last season. Last season, we completed 63.2%. He had 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So, he's had some good, he's had some bad. Daniel Jones, the same thing. Daniel Jones had some good years, but he's also had some bad years as well, too. So we'll have to wait and see. Wait and see what Dable can do with Drew Lock. Lock signed a 1-year, $5 million deal in March to be Jones' backup. I think there's a lot of incentives in that $5 million deal. At least that's what was originally thought. Recently, there's been increasing chatter about Lock potentially pushing for the starting job with the NFL.com draft analyst that Lock has a really good shot to beat out Daniel Jones as the number 1 quarterback on the Giants depth chart. Well, we'll have to wait and see. They were comparing Daniel Jones and Drew Lock with an emphasis on Drew Lock to the quarterbacks that were going to be there at pick 6 overall. And the line for them was Drake May, Jeremiah said. So I guess once Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May got drafted, I guess they said, we like May. I'm sorry. We like Locke better than the other quarterbacks. And you look at it too. I mean, they drafted Neighbors. I mean, Neighbors going to help out any quarterback. Even if I was the quarterback, he'd make me look good. Locke, a former first-round draft pick by the Broncos. I don't think so. Locke. Drew Locke. He was drafted in the second round, 42nd overall in 2019. So I'm not sure. All right, I read that right. Locke was a former first-round draft pick by the Broncos. That's not what that's not what I remember. He spent last season with the Seahawks, throwing 543 yards with 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions in 4 games. He was the backup to Geno Smith and had a notable comeback win against the Eagles in Week 15 last season. Locke has struggled to find his footing as a starting quarterback in the league, but with Jones recovering from a torn ACL, it wouldn't be surprising if, regardless of whether Jones is medically cleared in time for training camp, Locke gets another chance at a starting quarterback role. Well, we'll have to wait and see. Already he's expected he'll get first-team reps in the spring, absolutely, while Jones finishes advanced stages of his rehab. And it wouldn't be surprising if Locke ended up taking a nice chunk of preseason snaps, as Jones probably won't play in those games either. From the Giants' perspective, the goal is to get Locke as up to speed on the offense as possible, just in case Jones isn't ready. One way to do that is to get him as many reps as possible. And if Locke should look good with the reps he gets, that could create a dilemma for the Giants brass, who have said that the expectation is for Jones to start once healthy, a statement that has left them with some way. Absolutely. They said, he's like, our expectations are, okay, if Daniel Jones is healthy, that's our expectations. Daniel Jones is starting quarterback. That's where I expect. It doesn't say, it didn't say no. Daniel Jones start, doesn't matter. Nope, Daniel Jones started the quarterback. I said our expectations, so it does leave him some wiggle room. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Because regardless, Daniel Jones is not going to be like 100% ready. In like probably in July. They're going to try to ease him back in. Like possibly what they were saying, it might be a chance that he may not play at all in the preseason. I'll have to wait and see. It's going to be kind of interesting. I mean, if Daniel Jones doesn't play in the preseason, or you want to walk him out there in week 1 of the NFL season when he has, maybe he's taking some snaps or nothing, but he hasn't had any live reps in a preseason game or anything like that. I'll have to wait and see. But one thing is with Daniel, he does know the system. So Drew Locke's going to have to get up to speed with that. But it's going to be very, very interesting because, first time Daniel Jones, if he is to start, first incomplete pass he throws, first interception he throws, whatever like that, there's going to be the rumblings. The favorite player on every team, it basically is, or the fan favorite maybe, the fan favorite on every team is the backup quarterback. Because if things start going bad, let's just get the starting quarterback in there. He'll fix everything. So it's going to be very, very interesting. But if anybody can help Drew Lock get the most out of him, well, I mean, it's a couple people. One, obviously, is Brian Dable. But 2 is give the dude some weapons, right? And I think Malik Neighbors could be a huge friend to any quarterback that we're going to have. Now it's going to be up to the offensive line to be able to block long enough to keep the quarterback upright long enough to, look around and find the open receiver. Something that Daniel Jones, last season he dropped back to pass and he seemed like in his head, I got about 2 seconds and somebody's going to rip my head off. So, so he might be that. This guy's supposed to be that's why I'm staring down my receiver, right? Instead of him feeling comfortable in the pocket, I can dance around and look for a few seconds, maybe, look at a few of my receivers before I get killed. But regardless of that, Daniel Jones got to do a much better job of that. Not staring down his target, like when the pass got picked off against the Seahawks. I mean, he was just like staring, right? And he does not do a good job at looking at the whole field. I don't know how many times I've seen, videos or plays and stuff like that. It's like maybe Slayton's running down the sideline, might have a step or two on his guy, or he might be in a zone coverage, in zone coverage or over there, and he's got room over there to hit him, and he doesn't like even look his way. Daniel does not do a very good job of that. Does not do a very good job of that. Then I saw this. This was kind of interesting. It says, where would the Giants, or actually they asked the question here. This is from Big Blue View. Where would you have drafted an offensive lineman for the New York Giants? Now, they did like a survey here in the first 3 rounds. Okay. Because after that, because the thing is, like, once you get to the 4th round, it certainly doesn't mean you can't find a good player. But a lot of times you draft a lineman in the first 3 rounds, you can really see, you got visions of these guys being a starter. Right. So they did a survey and they did a survey for the first 3 rounds, and they asked the fans in each one of those rounds, right, who they would have drafted, and it's to see if there was any of those picks that the Giants drafted, or one of those picks in the first 3 rounds that the Giants was there one of those picks that the Giants made in the first, once again, 3rd round, 3 rounds. That the fans would have drafted an offensive lineman in. Maybe you know where I'm going with this here, but not in the first round. All right, the first round. This is freaking awesome. I mean, they did this. Is great. Round 1, the Giants chose some guy by the name of Malik Neighbors. Right? Maybe you heard of him. Okay, who did this? This is Ed Valentine. Okay, he's really good. He's really good. I am not buying the chatter that they would have traded up for Notre Dame offensive tackle Joe Alt, or even would have selected Alt at number 6. There were 3 other offensive linemen selected in the top half of round 1. J.C. Latham, Fashanu, and Fuaga. Would you have chosen one of those players over Neighbors, Washington wide receiver Roma Dunze, or even Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy? In the poll below, so he took a poll, I will offer you a choice between Neighbors and the other 3 offensive linemen. So basically, he did a poll. 2,288 people voted. A lot of people voted on this, all right? Given a choice of these players, who would you have chosen for the Giants at number 6? So it was J.C. Latham, Fashanu, or Fuaga, or Neighbors. And Neighbors blew everybody out of the water. He didn't put Alt in there because Alt wasn't there, right? But he put Malik Neighbors or 3 other offensive linemen, and Malik Neighbors by far blew everybody out of the water. Latham got 2% of the votes, Fashanu got 2% of the votes, and Fuaga got 2% of the votes. Malik Neighbors got the rest of them. So that was a no-brainer. Absolutely no-brainer. Now in round 2, all right, Ed Valentine says the Giants chose safety Tyler Nubin. I love the pick. Love the pick. Absolutely. I love the guy. Absolutely. I'm very happy he's on our team. I'm not saying he's going to be a Hall of Famer or all pro and all like that, but I'm very happy. He seems like somebody you can really build a team with. Absolutely. And don't be surprised if one of these days he's not a captain, right? But let's see. The need was obvious. With this selection, perhaps only surprising because it doesn't necessarily fit the positional value portrait we have of how Shane generally does business. Below are the offensive tackles chosen between picks 47 and 70 when the Giants chose in round 3. So he asked, the poll was who should the Giants have taken? Tyler Nubin, Patrick Paul, an offensive tackle, Blake Fisher, an offensive tackle, Roger Rosengarten, an offensive tackle, or Kingsley Suamate, I think maybe. Okay, so Suamate if I'm saying it right. He got 6% of the votes. Rosengarten got 3% of the votes. Blake Fisher got 3% of the votes, and Patrick Paul got 4% of the votes. Tyler Nubin got the other 85. So according to the Giant fan base, anyway, the guys, 2,120 people participated in this poll, all right, that Ed Valentine did. 85% of the people by far would have taken Tyler Nubin over any other of the offensive tackles that were out there. Okay, so now we go to round 3. Now this is where I can see the Giants chose cornerback Andrew Phillips at number 70. Cornerback was an obvious need, with the only reservation about this pick being that Phillips seems more like a slot cornerback than an outside cornerback the Giants seem to need. Below some of the offensive line options the Giants had at this spot. And unfortunately, the one that the Giant fans wanted is the guy that went to the Cowboys. So there's Cooper Beebe, right? Let's see. Goncalves, Matt Goncalves, Matt Goncalves, Christian Haynes, Zach Zinter, Layden Robinson. Is there anybody else? Oh, and Karan Amagaji. I'm sure I screwed that name up. But Andrew Phillips only got 24% of the votes in his third round pick. Cooper Beebe, who went to the Cowboys, got 49, got almost half the votes, according here. Now, he's a guard. Okay, the Giants brought in a bunch of guards. We still have guards. Cooper Beebe, I'm certainly would have started, would have pushed for maybe a starting guard position. If not, I'm sure he would have been a backup without question. But we brought in Runyon Jr. and we got Luminor, right? He might be the other starting guard if Evan Neal, right, makes it a tackle. Or if not, they might flip-flop, might push Evan Neal in. So the Giant fans would have taken Cooper Beebe in the third round instead of Andrew Phillips. But with all the guys that Shane brought in and with the new coach, offensive line coach, I think he really wants to see what Russillo can do with what we got. The guys that we got and the guys that we brought in. And he knows what he can do with Illuminor because he worked with Illuminor last season. Illuminor did very, very well. So I think we're going to give this season a chance. And after the season's over with, then we're going to see where we're at and see if we need to. If we need a guard, is Evan Neal just total trash, and we're going to try to get rid of him as soon as we can? Is Evan Neal going to be a guard? Right? Is Evan Neal got to get moved into guard? Okay, we slide Illuminor outside the tackle. Okay, but we only signed Illuminor to a 2-year deal. So if we got to have Illuminor at right tackle next season, okay, but we only have him for 1 more year, so we would need another tackle. So maybe in the draft next season, we draft a tackle, maybe to back him up, right? So I think we're going to be more looking more and more toward the offensive line in next year's free agency and in next year's draft after we see what we got with this offensive line. Because, the thing is, a lot of it's coaching. It's not all, coaching. Obviously the players themselves have to, do the players do pretty much everything they can do to make themselves the best player possible, right? Meaning, do they watch their weight, right? Do they watch film? Do they do, this? Do they do that? Do they try to, whatever? They do exercise to try to make themselves faster. Do they do exercise to make their hands faster? Do they do, right, as much as they possibly can, right? Coaching has a lot to do with it as well, too. Let's see what Russillo can do with like Azudu and McKeithen. Because we drafted Azudu in the third round. It's not like, oh, yeah, well, he'll be a backup. No. You draft a guard in the third round. That guy's You want that guy participating on the offensive line as a starter, right? So be interesting to see what Priscilla can do with those guys. And I said, we drafted McKeithen too, right? A 5th rounder, but let's see what we can do with him, right? So I think after the season's over, let's see what Priscilla can do with the guys that we got a lot of guys. And we brought in some undrafted free agents as well, too. We got a lot of guys. A lot of these guys, some of these guys won't even make the practice squad. We got so many guys. So let's see what Priscilla can do. And after the season's over with, I said next season in free agency and in the draft, if we still have a hole, we can address it there. But I don't, I would have been very shocked if the Giants in the first few rounds drafted an offensive lineman. I thought if maybe somebody in the 5th or 6th round or something like that, if they saw like maybe a really good tackle who can make it developmental, who can maybe be a swing tackle, if Priscilla saw like an offensive lineman who could play all 3 interior offensive line, he could snap, he can play the guard. If I develop this guy, I think this guy might work into something. I could see him drafting a guard or something like that in the 5th or 6th round. But even that, they're bringing in guys and undrafted free agents too. So we got a lot of guys. There's a lot of competition. I'm not saying we're going to be a top 10 unit, but we got a lot of guys there. A lot of guys. And finally, I just wanted to give a little shout. I just saw this too. This is, some of you guys, anybody listening may not even know who Aaron Thomas is, but I just wanted to just give a little shout out to him. It's a shame. He was 19. My first season I started watching football was 1970. That happened to be Aaron Thomas's last season in the pros. The Giants traded for him in 1962. They traded Bob Gators, who was a running back. The Giants drafted Bob Gators in the 2nd round of the 1961 draft. He played in 1961. Then he played 2 games in the 62 season for the Giants. Then Allie Sherman traded Bob Gators to the 49ers, and we got Aaron Thomas in. So Aaron Thomas was one of our stud tight ends back in the 60s. And, he did pretty good. His stats were pretty impressive, especially if you consider back in this. He was an all-pro 1 year. He had some very, very good numbers, very, very good numbers, very impressive numbers, I said, especially for back in the 60s. And not only back in the 60s, but the Giants, we had some pretty crappy teams back in the 60s as well, too. But apparently Aaron Thomas just passed away. So former Giants tight end Aaron Thomas died on April 26th after a long illness. The team announced on Friday. He was 86 years old. So in 1970, first year I was watching, we only had, I think, 2 tight ends. We had Aaron Thomas and we had Bob Tucker. And it was funny because Aaron Thomas, that was his 10th season in the league. That was his 10th season and final season. And in 1970, Bob Tucker is like one of my favorite Giants period of all time. But Bob Tucker, that was his rookie season. So one guy was coming in and one guy was going. But Thomas played for the Giants from 1962 to 1970. He played in 116 regular season games, according to a Giants press release. He was 17th in franchise history with 254 catches. Now, once again, 17th. I said he played 9 seasons for the Giants. A lot of our team, we had some crappy teams. We had a 2-10-2 team in 1964. We had a 1-12-1 team in 1-win team in 1966, the worst team the Giants have ever had. He was on both those teams. So he was on some really freaking bad teams. And for him, and he had 4,253 receiving yards, which is very impressive, especially from back in the 60s. Very impressive. And he was tied in Giants history with 35 touchdown receptions. Now, once again, if he had played in today's NFL, where you got, back then you're only playing 14 games, right? Now you're playing 17 games. Now it's more of a pass-happy league than it was back then. I'm sure his numbers would have been even higher. He was very proud of and loved his years with the Giants, his son Thomas said. He really liked the Mara family. They were good to him. He was always a Giants fan. This is via the Giants press release. After a standout career at Oregon State, Thomas was coached by Giants head coach Allie Sherman in the Senior Bowl, Sherman told Thomas if the Giants didn't draft him, he would find a way to trade for Thomas, and Allie Sherman was true to his word. In 1961, Thomas was selected in the 4th round of the NFL draft by the San Francisco 49ers, and in the 16th round of the American Football League draft by the Dallas Texans, who became, in 1963, the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's see. Thomas played for the first 2 games of the 1962 season, so with the 49ers. Bob Gators played the first 2 games of the 1962 season with the New York Giants. And after that, then they wound up switching, right? They traded for each other. Allie Sherman made good on his promise, and he sent halfback Bob Gators to the 49ers in exchange for Aaron Thomas. After his playing career, Thomas was a stockbroker in Los Angeles before he and his father bought a restaurant, bowling alley, in Eureka, California, about 30 miles from Weed. Well, I'm not sure where that's at. Thomas later moved to Oregon, where he was the head football coach at Klamath Falls High School for 3 years in the early 1980s. He then returned to Oregon State, where he was the assistant director of the Beaver Club from 1983 to 1989. So, I mean, unfortunately, like for me, I'm a lot of guys are just passing away. I'm like, that guy died. But see, to me, like time stands still. I mean, I look at these guys from back then, and they're like, 1970, like 30 years old. So, fast forward 55 years, the guy's like 30 years old. No, the dude's like about 85 years old. So I always seem to forget that, but it's I just want to give a quick shout out. It's always a shame when you lose a star. I said, if you took him and put him in today's NFL, Aaron Thomas, with the amount of passing that we have, the amount of games that we have, his numbers would have been certainly a lot better. But I have well over 4,000 receiving yards for the Giants from 1962 to 1970. It's pretty doggone impressive. And for a lot of times, you don't see a lot of football players make it like 86 years old. A lot of guys die a lot younger than that. So he had himself a pretty good career. So just want to give a shout out there. All right, guys, it's been 1 hour and 7 minutes. Whoever listen to me live, thank you. Thank you, guys. You guys are freaking awesome. I greatly appreciate it. Or if anybody's going to spend any time watching the replay this, once again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. As always, you guys stay safe out there and go Giants. Woo! Oh, yeah.